Hello all. Welcome to this interesting concept on multi-staging in launch vehicles. So today we'll try to solve a numerical, which is a bit uh, interesting actually regarding the multi-staging concept and how it is applied in launch vehicles. So without wasting much of our time, let's get started. So here we have taken a three-stage GSLV prototype. So let's say this is going to be my GSLV. Okay. So we have taken some similar data related to the vehicle, launch vehicle. So here we have the first stage. The first stage data is already given. We have the mass, which is in kilogram. So you don't have to worry about the foreign units. Everything is incorporated in the SI unit system, so that it will be easy for doing the calculations. Now the thrust exhibited by the rocket, so which is the propelling force, which is going to be 3600 for the first stage, and second stage is 766 and 220 for the third stage, and the total mass is going to be the sum of 476,000 and the second stage total mass, and 29,000 is going to be the total mass of the third stage. And we have the payload mass, which is going to be a bit higher, so this time we have taken 6000 kilogram. Okay, so, and when it comes to the propellant, we call it as MP, which is mass of the propellant for the first stage is going to be 206700. Okay, and for the second stage it is 115000 and 25,000 for the third stage. Okay, and the burn time. So burn time is nothing but the time taken to burn the propellant completely. So that is meant by burn time. So this is in expressed in seconds. So everything is clear in SI unit. So it is very interesting actually, and it is very easy also to do the calculations and to understand the concept. So the burn time is in seconds. We have 130, 200, and 580. It keeps going. And the parameters what we have mentioned here is like these are all the parameters that we need to find. So it is a better practice that we can formulate a table and you can start filling the values once you finish the calculation. Okay, you get some values after the calculation, so you can start filling here. Okay, so that will make the problem solving very easy. And also it is important to know the terminologies where we have mentioned mi or m initial is going to be initial mass, so m final is going to be the final mass, and c is called the effects velocity, or it is also called as the effective jet velocity of the rocket. Okay, so each and every stage is going to be having some forward uh, velocities. It can be c1 for the first stage, c2 for the second stage, c3 for the third stage, and it keeps going, okay, based upon the number of stages. Fine. Now we have the velocity gain. So the total velocity gain, how much we are obtaining for the first stage, second stage, and the third stage, that we need to fill out here. Okay, so this is the overall picture, and I request all of you to work along with me, and please take down this data neatly in your notebook or in any sheet of paper you like. Okay, so these data are very interesting, and these are also similar to our real-time data. Okay, so you can take all these data and we can start doing the calculations. So in order to do the calculations, we have already seen the Tsiolkovsky rocket equation, which is also called as the ideal rocket equation, given by delta V is equal to C into ln of 1 by mr, where mr is the mass ratio of the stage, and mass ratio is depicted by mass, final mass divided by the initial mass. So when it comes to 1 by, it is going to be the initial mass by the final mass. It is nothing but the mass ratio is going to be uh, mf by mi. Okay, mf by mi, or the final mass by initial mass. So when getting into the reversal, that is 1 by mr is going to be mi by mfi. That is what I have written here. Okay, so total velocity gain when the stages get wiped off, once it start consuming the fuel. So each stage will get some velocity gain. So that is going to be the first stage velocity gain, delta v1, delta v2, delta v3, and the summation of all these will contribute delta v, and that is what we have seen in the previous video. Okay, and we have some terminologies here. We have the burn time here. Okay, the burn time is in seconds, the efflux or the effective jet velocity in meters per second, And if you would like to express in a higher unit, you can go with the kilometers per second. So that is also a standard units when launch vehicles velocities are concerned. Okay. When it comes to the mass of the propellant, we have m suffix p, so that is in kilogram. So all the units also I have mentioned without much confusion. So already we have seen how to calculate the effective exhaust gas velocity when the thrust is given. Okay, so when we have the thrust, which is already given here, is it not? So everywhere you can see the thrust is given here, the burn time is also given here, is it not? And the propellant mass is also given here. So based upon the three data, you can easily calculate the effective jet velocities of each stages. So it is self-explanatory. You don't have to break your head and think too much. You have already the equation, which is conceptually, we have already seen the equation in the previous video as well. So it's just a recapitulation that I want to express. Okay. Now, let's do the calculation each by each. Okay, I won't be able to fill out the completely, but certainly I'm going to do the mass calculation, so it is a bit tricky. So the remaining, the formula-based calculations, I will try to do it in, at least I think for first stage, I will try to do, and remaining you can do it as an assignment and you can perform accordingly. Okay. So now let's get started. So we'll go with the first stage. So mass of the payload, we know it is going to be 6,000. Okay. So when it comes to the first stage, we will write here first stage. Okay. We'll do the first stage. Now the first stage is going to be, it's very interesting actually. Okay. The first stage is going to be the total of the entire stages. Okay. So what is my first stage? So first stage is going to be the total mass, okay, mt1 plus mt2, okay, total mass in the second stage plus the third stage, and we have finally the important one, that is called the mass of the propellant. Okay, so that is going to be the mass of the propellant, or the, sorry, mass of the payload. Okay, that is going to be the mass of the payload. Okay, now if you see here, your first stage is going to have some uh, values over here. If you could see here, you have your m initial. If you write here, okay, your m initial can be, or mi also you can write, it's up to you. So mi or m initial is given by 476,000, okay, plus 125,600. So I want all of your attention to be here. Okay, we don't want any sort of confusion here while doing it off. Okay, if you see the previous video also, you should be in a position to understand how it is coming and how that can be determined. Okay, wherever you, whenever time it is going to ask, you should be able to you should be in a position to solve everything. Okay, now being said that, we have the mass of the payload and mass of the third stage mass, which is going to be 29,000, plus you have the payload mass going to be 6,000. Okay, so it is a very good practice that you can mark everything here. Okay, I'll just give a mark here. So this is going to be my total mass for the first stage, the second stage. Okay, this is going to be my third stage. This is going to be the mass of the payload. Okay, this is going to be the mass of the payload. Perfect. Now the overall quantity, if you sum it off, you are going to get a value of 636600 kilogram. Okay, you can do yourself. Okay, and the value doesn't make any sense. If at all I'm committing mistake, please let me know. You can do by yourself by using scientific calci or something. Okay. Now this is going to be the initial mass. So once you get the initial mass here, you start filling here, okay, so that it will be visible for you. 636600 you can fill here. That is going to be in kilogram. Definitely, it is going to be the mass. Okay. Now we are more interested about the final one. Okay, what is going to be the final mass? The final mass is going to be, your stages mass will remain the same. Only thing will happen is the propellant consumption in the first stage. Okay, so that you need to deduct. So what is going to be here final mass? You do the same stuff, 476,000. Okay, at the beginner level you start rating everything. So once you're progressing, you know that once you're going to get progress, so you can do accordingly. So 29,000 we have and 6,000. Okay. Now this is going to be the final mass minus of the propellant mass. I will write here the mass of the propellant for the first stage is MP1. Okay. Now this quantity we already know, is it not? So we can write here 636 double zero. Okay. Minus of MP1. So what is the mass of the propellant? So it is simply but 6366 double zero minus of your 206700. Okay, so that is going to be uh, the final mass. So how much it is going to have? This is going to have 429900 kilograms. So immediately you can start filling those value again. Okay, so this is the first stage section. So you can start filling it 429900. Surely this is going to be in the kilogram. Okay, and what is going to be the flux velocity for the first stage? It's simple. So only thing what you have to do is like you know the formula, right? So you know the formula of your flux velocity. So what is the flux velocity here? Your flux velocity is basically the effective exhaust gas velocity, and if it is for the first stage, okay, C1 can be determined by the thrust, okay, especially in the first stage, into the burn time of the first stage divided by the propellant mass. Okay, so what is the thrust is going to have? So thrust we already know, your 3600 kilonewtons. You have to convert this into newtons, and time of burning is 130. Okay, and your propellant mass is going to be 206700, which we have already seen. Now you perform the same stuff here. Okay, now you have 3600 into 10 cube into burn time is going to be 130. Okay, divided by the propellant mass, it is going to be 206700. So this will yield me a value of around let's say 2264.15 meters per second. Okay, you can work out and see, okay, from your end. So these things I will try to do it here. Okay, this is going to be the flux velocity 2264.15 meters per second. Okay, now we go with the velocity gain. So what is going to be the velocity gain here? It's simple. So your delta V is going to be C1 for the first stage. So we can write delta V1 into logarithm of your initial mass. We know that it is going to be 63600 divided by, and what is going to be the final mass? So which we should be very careful, is it not? We should be in a position to clarify. So it is going to be 429900. Okay, fine. Now if you do this calculation, you see one value is around 2264. Now you do it 2264 into ln of, you can write here 1.48 or 49. Okay, you can just work out and see. So this is going to be around 888.8 meters per second. So this value you can just try to fill it over here. Okay, so this is going to be 888.8 meters per second. Okay, similarly we'll try to do the mass calculation. So remaining stuff you can do and you can follow the same stuff what I have mentioned here. Okay, why I'm doing the mass calculation, that is going to be a bit tricky one. Remaining everything you can substitute the formulas and you can get the stuff. Okay, now I'm interested with the second stage. Okay, as you know that your fuel is getting consumed here, you are not at all you need not to consider the first stage. Okay, already the fuel is consumed, so ultimately uh, your first stage is going to drop off. Okay, now you are remaining with the second and the third and the payload. Okay, And when you consider the second, your initial mass will be the total first, second, and the third. Okay. So once the final mass, that is the second, in the second one, you will be having some propellant mass. So when that is going to consume, again your second stage also will get vanished off. So this is how the process continues. Okay. Now for the second stage, let's get back to here. So we have the second stage is going to be, the first stage is no longer here because already the propellant has been consumed. Now you can start considering the stages from second stage onwards. So this is going to be the total mass in the second stage plus total mass in the third stage plus total mass of the propellant, the payload. Okay, the total mass of the payload. So this is going to be uh, somewhere. So if you know that this is for the second mass, total mass, so I can write here 125600 plus 29,000 because plus 6,000, and as first stage is no longer present, okay, because it's going to wipe off. So because of that only we are getting a delta V1 value, is it not? So this is going to be the delta V1 for the first stage. So similarly, we are going to get the delta V1 for the second stage as well. Okay. Now this will come around some value. So this is going to be around 160,600 kilograms. So you can just work out and see. Okay. So this is going to be the total mass of the second, initial mass in fact. Okay, this is going to be the initial mass. And what about the final mass? So final mass is nothing but the total mass, and your propellant of the second stage is getting consumed. Okay, so that means your 125600 plus 29,000 plus 6,000. So in fact, if you're writing instead of this one, you can write straight away this one. Okay, it's up to you. So you deduct from this mass, some propellant mass will be there. It is around 115,000 for the second stage. If you see the table, you can see here it is going to be 115,000 for the second stage propellant mass. Okay, perfect. Now this is going to be equal to you will get something around 45600 kilogram. Okay, you can see accordingly. Fine. And now you can use the C1 equation. Okay, C1 can be the thrust into burn time divided by the propellant mass of the second stage. Okay, the second stage. So this is going to be C2. Sorry. Okay, now you can start filling the data here. So here you can have your initial mass in the second stage is going to be 160,600 kilogram, and this is going to be 45600 kilogram. Okay, and what about the flux velocity for the second stage? It's interesting actually, is it not? So we have the thrust, we have the burn time. So thrust is going to be, if you see the table, you'll get 766 kilonewton. You need to convert into newtons. So you multiply by 10 cube into what is going to be the burn time? It's 200. Perfectly all right. You divide by the propellant mass, which is going to be 115,000. Okay, so this will yield me a value of around somewhere around 1,332.17 meters per second. Okay, just work out and see. Okay, because the idea remains the same. Okay, if I am getting a wrong value also, it's fine, because ultimately you should understand the concept. Okay, so 1,332.17 meters per second. Okay, now if you do the same velocity again over here for the second this thing, okay, for the second stage, if you do the same velocity, so what is delta V2? So delta V2 is going to be your C2 into logarithm of the initial is going to be 160,600 divided by 45600. Okay, if you do this stuff, you are going to get the delta V2 value, and because we know the C2, it is going to be 1332.17. So you have to take ln, okay, ln. In scientific LC, if you are using, you have to take ln, okay. Now, if you do here, you are going to achieve a delta V value of around 1677.2 meters per second. Okay, you can fill it over here. 1677.2 meters per second. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. And similarly, you can do for the third stage also. Or how you are going to do the third stage? Now your propellant, you are only remained with the third stage, okay? Because your first stage and second stage, there is no longer fuel in it. So only thing you have to remember is when fuel is getting consumed of you never need to find out or never need to include the first and the second stage, okay? Wherever stages your fuel is getting consumed, you can just wipe away the stages and you can start calculating the initial uh, masses from that corresponding stage itself. Okay, so here we have third, so we'll calculate from here. Third, the M total is going to be the third stage mass plus payload mass. Okay, so your M initial is going to be, for the third stage is going to be, okay, I'll mark here third so it will be clear for you. So M initial is going to be what is going to be the third stage? This is going to be 29,000, okay, plus, and what is going to be the payload? 6,000. So this will yield me around 35,000. Okay, so without wasting much time, I'll start filling here. I got 35,000 kilogram. And what is going to be my final mass? And the final mass will be this total mass minus the fuel consumption. So this is going to be 35,000 minus of, and what is going to be the fuel consumption? So this is going to be, as per the data, this is 25,000. Okay, so this will be around 100. You will get 4 zeros, okay, kg. Okay, so here we'll get kgs. Okay, now efflux velocity, it's simple. Again, you can calculate for the third stage because you have the thrust. Okay, you have the thrust, you have the propellant mass, you have the burn time. By using this simple relationship, you can calculate, and it will be coming around. You can work out and see. So that is taken as a homework or something. You can see that is going to come around 5,000, more than that. Okay, 5014, and some decimals will be there that you can work out and see. Okay, so this is going to be like this if at all you are going to use this one. Okay, now the velocity gain, the velocity gain, if you know the C value. Okay, now let's say you got the C from this equation. Okay, so if you want me to write the steps also, it's fine. Okay, you have the thrust here. Okay, you have the thrust here. Now if this is going to be 220 into 10 cube, and what is the burn time is 580, and divide by the mass of the propellant, which is going to be 25,000. So this will yield me around the 510 meters per second. That is what I have written here. Okay, and what is going to be the delta V value for the third stage? So it's simple. So delta V3 is going to be equal to C3. So what is going to be my C3? This is 5104 into logarithm of what is the initial mass. This is 35,000. Okay, 35,000 divided by 4 zeros we have. Okay, so this will come around much higher value, 6394.10 something. Now you can start filling here, 6394.10 meters per second. Okay, now what is the total velocity gain? So this delta V1 plus delta V2 plus delta V3. Okay, so the total that you are going to get, it's simple. Okay, so the total is going to be delta V1 plus delta V2 plus delta V3. Okay, You have the velocities here. You add all the velocities. Okay. So that is giving me the total velocity gain. Okay. So this is going to be around 8960.18. Okay. So this is what the calculation is all about. I hope this is clear for you. It may look lengthy, but I think this is very simple if you understand the concept and if you proceed accordingly. Okay. So please try to do from your end as well, because already the steps has been mentioned. Everything has been mentioned. So you can do accordingly, taking 3 or 4 stages, and you take some random values and you can try calculating it. Okay. I hope this video is informative for you, and we'll catch you in the next video then. Thank you so much.